Thank you for tuning in to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Please subscribe to our weekly Boston Bruins hockey talk on listening platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and Spotify Podcasts. We'd certainly appreciate it if you give our show a 5-star rating along with a written review. You can also subscribe to our official YouTube channel for a video version of our weekly program. If you'd like to support our show financially, please go to our blackandgoldhockey.com website and click on our affiliated Fanatics banner before shopping online. Another way to financially support our weekly program is to become a Patreon member to be eligible for weekly Boston hockey prizes and monthly Boston Bruins hand-signed jersey giveaways. Please go to patreon.com/blackandgoldhockeypodcast and donate just $1 per episode. Many thanks for the continued support and enjoy the show.
Behind the net to Sanderson, Orr! Bobby Orr! Orr from the Boston Bruins!
30 seconds left in the period. The Bruins are shorthanded. Ray Bourque.
Ray Bourque from the face-off circle to the right of Reggie Lemon. Fired it down and Whitmore blew it. Did he ever?
To Bergeron on the drive, save, rebound, he's loose, saving, kicks him loose, Bergeron scores! The Bruins goes on! With the point of the dagger in their throats, they rip it out of Toronto's hands and kill the beast! The Boston Bruins have won it after being 3 down in the third!
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome into episode number 312 of the Black and Gold podcast. It's great to have you here with us. Steve Forni hosting as well as Mark Allred, who is always with us as well. Mark, it's good to see you again. A weekly thing. How you been? How's the week been treating you?
Good. I mean, for Bruins content, it's nothing short of fantastic. This wagon just keeps going. Personally, I finally joined the Corona Club.
No.
Yeah, over the New Year's, I was not feeling good. On Saturday and Sunday, my wife was just like, Jesus, I don't know, Mark. I think we just got to go take a test. And I've tested before several times, actually, because of my work. And so I work in a building with a lot of people, so that's pretty common. But I took a test and yeah, I got it. And it was a pretty difficult couple days. I'd say 3-4 days last week were pretty bad. Just real cold and hot and just like, I felt like an old lady on menopause. It was really bad.
Well, that sucks.
But
you feeling better though, now?
I'm getting better. It's just a lot of water. This episode is sponsored by H2O, but yeah, it's just a lot of water, medications from CVS, and my dad really helped out because we have to isolate and so on just for 5 days. I couldn't go back to work, so basically I had to use vacation time this week. But things are getting better. We both tested positive, actually, my wife Courtney and I, so we're both getting a little better. We're ready to get back to work because. I mean, I was always like, wow, it's kind of cool to have the flu and just hang around at home all day. But it's really not that fun. It really is not that fun.
And you got to be careful, too. I mean, I now know 2 people that since they got COVID are now allergic to beer, which is not great. And I personally, I still have issues with my heart rate. So, I mean, I'm 36, and I'll be sitting here doing nothing, and all of a sudden my heart rate will spike to like 140, 150, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? So,
damn.
There's some lingering stuff, too. You just got to kind of keep your eye on for the next, couple months at least. It's weird. We're 2.5 years into this thing. We still can't figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I was fortunate to avoid this, I mean, especially in the height of the whole Corona thing. But hey, we move on. But how was your week? I know you've been real busy at the T-Birds a lot lately.
Yeah. Busy week of school. And then, last night we had the throwback night. So we busted out the 94 Falcons jerseys. And just real quick, we auctioned them off post game right on the ice. And with all my interactions of hockey players over the years, it seems like they're either super nice or they're huge dicks. And I would say it's probably about a 93-7 ratio. 93% of these guys are so nice. They're willing to talk to fans, sign autographs, be with the people, treat other employees within the organization with respect. And it's always a good reminder to me, how nice these guys are. I mean, they're, each one of them comes up and they shake my hand. How you doing? They got a good group of guys there in Springfield. And I know it's not just in Springfield. Hockey guys just seem, like I said, 93% of them are just an absolute pleasure to deal with, to interact with. So another sellout crowd. So I'm proud that the Springfield's and the management and the team that they put together in the marketing department, the ticket sales reps, they're great people. We got sold out buildings. When I started, we had 1,100 people in the building, and we were last place, and now it's the total opposite. So tip of the hat to the players, the team, the organization. They pulled it off well.
Yeah, that team is really, and we both follow the AHL thoroughly. I cover the Providence Bruins, and obviously you're the PA voice for the Springfield Thunderbirds. But that team in the past 2 or 3 years has really turned around. St. Louis has really done a good job of getting prospects down there, some really well-known ones, and ones that are driving fans into the building. So, but I'm going to tell you, Steve, I'm not a fan of your T-Birds. So we might have a little difference here on the whole, Providence and friggin' Springfield thing, because it is an Atlantic Division rival. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And to be honest with you, for the past couple of weeks, I've really enjoyed having you aboard. So
I appreciate that. Wouldn't it be nice to have a nice little playoff series between Providence and Springfield, and then in the springtime? Yeah. I'll have to have you out here. I'll have to go down there. We'll make fun of it. But
I'll have to get a room over the MGM Grand.
yeah, definitely. But, it's funny, even Providence, when Providence comes to town, it's different for me because, again, I'm in a weird spot because I'm a Bruins fan, So
right.
When Providence comes to town, I spend most of my time watching Jack Ashan and Lizelle and Beecher, and, I'm not really paying much attention to my own guys. But it's a unique spot, certainly. And it's good to be, like I said, it's good to be 10 minutes from home. I loved doing the games in Boston, but it's just so far, and that, a 10-minute commute, having my family, having extra family time, extra school time, you kind of can't beat it. So I'm in a good spot,
Absolutely. Well, it's good to hear you had a good week.
Yeah, it's great. And again, it's been a long one. It feels like the Winter Classic was forever ago. But what a great day. What a good day for hockey. What a good day for Bruins fans. What a good day for the team. What were some of your initial takeaways, Mark, from the Winter Classic last Monday?
Just an unbelievable experience. Obviously I was not there. I was home, resting, and but I watched on TV, and it was really good to see all the folks on Twitter that I hang around with. Downtown Boosie, Nick Busa, he was there, and our own Mike Sullivan from Black and Gold Productions, he was there as well. And I just saw all the tweets and the pictures and the videos and stuff like that. And it just seemed like a very surreal moment for a lot of fans. And so many people would just I've come here for Red Sox games on a regular, and I've never heard this stadium that loud. And that speaks volumes, One of the highlights was John Henry getting booed. That was just that was amazing, But the game itself, the atmosphere, just an unbelievable thing for the league. I really enjoy these outdoor games, regardless if the Bruins are involved or not. It's a good revenue for the city. I'm sure the foot traffic in Boston was really good for millions and millions of dollars being generated around the local economy. The game was good. I was actually surprised that the ice conditions were a lot better than predicted. But these are the types of things that the NHL prepares themselves for, is to get that that almost perfect ice for outdoor activities. But the game, it was a little boring to begin. It was just it was more of a feel out process, hey, we're here, both teams are here. We have to find where we're going to get that gap to really expose each other. And that came later on in the game with, obviously Jake DeBrusk, he comes in with 2 big goals. And Linus Ullmark was just an amazing goaltender, starting goaltender in that game. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed what I saw on TV, regardless of who covered it, TNT or whatever. I just really liked watching all the camera views. Really enjoyed the drone coverage.
That was
going
awesome.
Around. That was so cool, man. It was good to see Zdeno Chara, Bobby Orr, and obviously Johnny Busick, some of the old-time Bruins in the house. And, the overall game was just really good. And, the home winning still happens, even though they weren't at home.
Yeah, right. Right. It was there were some things that were a little quirky. I could tell it seemed like the broadcasters just couldn't see anything, and everyone was kind of beating up on them a little bit. But I think they were put in a spot where I picture them just kind of wincing, going, passing it to who the hell's that guy? It seemed like maybe they had a tough view there, and you're right. They always say that the goalies have the hardest time adjusting to the outdoor game, but Ullmark kept them in the beginning of that game. The first period, they were skating around like it was 5 Hal Gills out there. And I don't know if they were just trying to find their way, or they couldn't get used to it, or it was, it looked like somebody playing a video game for the first time. It was like they didn't know what to do or how to do it. But then it seemed like the sun went down, and it was a whole different team. So I don't know if it was that just adjustment period. It didn't seem to me like Pittsburgh just seemed faster, I guess, in the first period and a half. And then Jake DeBrusk leaves, comes back, scores 2 goals. We find out he's got a broken leg. I mean, that is badass. So, it sucks we're going to lose him for 4 weeks, but what a gutsy performance by him. Definitely one of the more entertaining Bruins ones I've seen. I think if I ranked them, that Lake Tahoe game was awesome. That game they played at Gillette against Montreal was terrible. They played awful in that game. It was a mess. So I put this one probably somewhere right in the middle. I thought that kind of the first puck pitch was a little strange.
Yeah.
I wish Veritek had a mask on, because I really wanted to see Bobby Orr just kind of wind back and really fire one at him. But I'm sitting there watching it going, he's not going to shoot the puck at Jason Veritek, is he? He is. He's going to shoot the puck at Jason Veritek. So I was hoping he was going to kind of put a little more mustard on it. But I agree with you. Overall, I think it was a win for hockey. It was a win for Boston. It was a win for Bruins fans. It was a win for Pittsburgh. I just think it was a great day. It was a great game. It was nice to see the Black Keys there. I always think the Black Keys were kind of cool. Just an absolute home run. And quite frankly, my biggest takeaway is I think they should start doing this for the All-Star games. Yeah. I think the All-Star games should be outdoors. The All-Star, skills competitions and all that stuff, they do throw those things outdoor too. Why not?
That would be pretty cool.
Because again, it doesn't really mean anything, right, in the grand scheme of things. So guys can really go out there, enjoy themselves, take it all in, nothing on the line. They can go out there and have some fun. So that was a blast. And like we were talked about last week, it's so nice that they were able to go out west, right? After that, you're able to go out west, sort of reset yourself, recalibrate, and so far so good. 2 for 2 on the West Coast.
Yeah, I was actually surprised about the LA Kings game on Thursday. I had a feeling the Bruins were going to win, but it's that West Coast travel that you just really don't know how a coach like Jim Montgomery or defensive coach John Gruden are going to get these guys up for travel like that, because it takes a lot out of you. I've heard several hockey players say that those West Coast those trips are fun, but they're also really grueling on the body when you're an athlete,
Sure.
Even when you're not. But yeah, it was good to just take that experience from the Winter Classic and move into a 3-game roadie out in California. A big win for the Boston Bruins. And, we'll talk about a certain individual later on. But, 5-2 out in L.A. I thought it was a really good game. Jeremy Swayman, I thought, played really good. But then again, he's another game that he's giving up the first goal. Actually, that's wrong. That first goal that he gave up was not his fault because it was we're in the back of Gretzky's office, and it just came out front to a guy that's you don't have time to get across the crease and make a stop like that. But overall, I just thought it was a really good game, and what a way to kick off the 3-game California trip. But man, these freaking late night games are killing me.
I mean, even last night, it was Saturday night. I got home at 10:45 from Springfield, which was great, like perfect. And by the end of the second period, I was borderline asleep in my lazy boy. I just couldn't make it through. And especially that Thursday night on a school night, it was just I couldn't do it. But and I was upset because of the guy that we're going to talk about, Trent Frederick. The Trent Frederick period, for crying out loud. It's great to see him getting things done. And, putting all that stuff aside that you mentioned, the gruel of the West Coast trip, I don't care if you're playing West Coast, East Coast, or you're playing on Mars. If you want to be the elite and you want to be the cream of the crop, you want to be the top team, you have to beat teams that you should beat. And Columbus, L.A., last night in San Jose, Anaheim, you got to beat these teams. You have to. And so it was good to see them get it done. It was good to see them stick with it. And like you said, they got off to a slow start there against LA, but then last night it was like bang, bang, bang right off the jump. I felt like Big Jim Murray, Reimer, you bum. That's what that was last night, man. He talk about not starting a game right. James Reimer, my goodness.
How about this one? James Reimer has no luck against the Boston Bruins. James Reimer was in the game when Patrice Bergeron beat him in one of the classic Boston Bruins moments when the Maple Leafs were up on the Bruins, I think 3 goals or 4 goals, and then the Bruins just came back. He was in net that night. So every time James Reimer is in goal, I think that he's just a sieve. And thank you, James Reimer, for opening up those holes and allowing the Boston Bruins to find ways to win.
And maybe it's one of those things people have that, certain players have that against particular teams, but it seems like everywhere Reimer's been, Carolina, Toronto, he just can't, I don't know if he just gets the shakes or what, but he just, and again, that's not really a good team out there in San Jose, but
right.
Boy, when he straps it up against the Bruins, I'm like, oh boy, here we go, another Reimer game,
Yeah, always bet the over.
right. So they get a 4-2 win last night against San Jose. And again, I made it 2 periods. I saw they were up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to call it a night. But and then is it tonight or I guess tomorrow against Anaheim?
Nope, tonight.
It is tonight. Awesome. I'll stay up for that
8:30.
one. 8:30. I can make that one.
Yep, me too.
And again, another game they should win. I'm curious, real quick, are there any players on Anaheim that you're looking at in terms of possible trade partners? Because there seems to be this Boston-Anaheim trade thing, and there's been some talk back and forth. Is there anybody on that 3rd, 4th line in Anaheim? Not to put you on the spot, but are there going to be any players, or is that something you're going to be looking for when you watch the game tonight?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm more looking at the Anaheim's defense, Cam Fowler and so on. I don't know. I really don't know much about the lineup, to be honest with you, Steve. I actually am looking forward to watching a player like Trevor Zegras, former BU player and so on. He's just very creative, with the Michigans and so on. But I mean, those teams like Anaheim are going to be probably targets where Boston's going to want to call, because sooner or later they're going to pack it in and want to build for the next year and get assets ahead of themselves. So. I mean, I could see Don Sweeney definitely making a phone call, because they have been, like you said, they've been trade partners before with Hampus Lindholm, but hopefully it's not first round picks that are being dealt out to get a player out there. Hopefully it's more or less like a rental, because this Boston Bruins team is a wagon, and they, there's Stanley Cup potential here.
Yeah, and I'm out on anybody named Richie. I don't want a Nick Richie, Brett Richie, Bob Richie, Jim Richie. I don't want any more Richies. I'm done with the Richies coming out of Anaheim. So one other thing that I guess involves with all that we've already talked about, we talked about Jake DeBrusk. We talked about the travel. Last night they dressed 7 defensemen, and we've yet to see Chris Wagner, but Chris Wagner gets the call up from Providence. Head coach Jim Montgomery says he doesn't know much about him, which I assume means that he's leaning on a guy like either Don Sweeney or, he's asking the guys in the room, Bergeron, Marchand, about Chris Wagner. Personally, I think once he gets a look at Chris Wagner, we'll probably see maybe the last of a guy like AJ Greer, because I think Wagner is sort of what they're looking for and what they need. And last I checked, I think he led the AHL in hits. But he doesn't lead the AHL in penalties, right? So that's important. I want a guy that can go out and play physical and not be sitting for 2 minutes. So, again, he hasn't played yet, I guess, like you said, because that travel is such a gruel, it's such a grind to get out there. Monty said he wants him to sort of get up to speed with the travel and get his body clock right. So do you think we'll see the debut of Chris Wagner this season out here in Anaheim?
2 things before I answer your question.
Sure.
One thing is I had the breaking news on the Chris Wagner call up. Got credit from a couple people. Didn't get credit from most. And I also got the breaking news on the fractured fibula before anybody else had it out there. So a little pat in my back, because nobody seems to give me credit when I say anything. So screw them all.
Mark's got the bat phone. Mark's got the bat phone.
Exactly. But when you talk about Chris Wagner and a road trip out west, you do want to bring in a guy like him. He's got the NHL experience, the pedigree, whatever you want to call it. But more or less, he's there for a break glass in case of an emergency scenario. You want to carry an extra forward, because if you don't carry an extra forward, the call-up is virtually impossible to get across the country from Providence to California. So it is good to have a player like Chris Wagner in the lineup just in case. But it was weird that he wasn't playing. And the fact is that I found it very strange that they did go 11-7 and give – and it's like, all right, now you're going to give Jacob Zaboral a game because he needs one, but you're going to be down 1 forward. I just didn't understand that. And that's where I kind of would like to have seen Wagner in place. But Jim Montgomery, I think, mentioned, or several sources have mentioned, that Wagner is most likely going to get into action tonight in Anaheim. So I don't know about the whole AJ Greer part of your question, Steve. I do know that when it comes down to massaging the salary cap, it's really difficult to be cap compliant. And to believe it or not, AJ Greer's $750,000 is a little more attractive to the Bruins lineup than Chris Wagner's $1.8 million, whatever. I mean, I know it's pennies on the dollar when we're talking about the salary cap that way, but it's, and we do have a little bit of salary cap as well, but I don't know if Chris Wagner is going to be that type of impact player that's going to like really wow anybody to see if he's going to be a mainstay here.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, Greer was one of those guys I've watched, again, skate around to the A, and I was just sort of I was kind of surprised he made the roster on opening day, and maybe that's a part of the reason why is because of the price. That might be why he's there to begin with, but we'll see. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. Craig Smith threw a wrinkle in that plan last night when he finally scored a goal, got a beauty there. Nice little rip top shelf. Again, one that Reimer should have saved, didn't. But we'll have to see how the bottom of the roster all shakes out. I think, and by the way, Wagner, another former Anaheim Duck.
So, yes, exactly.
Keep bringing those guys in. One thing last night did kind of bother me a little bit, and I know Jack and Brick talked about it on the broadcast. I think it was Forbort and Clifton got stuck out there for like 3.5 minutes. Taylor Hall's got a chance to clear the puck, and just another half a stride, he would have got it over, over the red line, and he didn't. And then Forbort didn't want to come off the bench, and the refs kind of freaked out. And I don't want to say freaked out. They just, don't you know who I am? Go sit in the box, and gave him a penalty for it. It was just a weird scenario, but a little bit more puck awareness. If you do that against a better team, you're in trouble, Yeah. So in a weird way, it was good they had 7 defensemen because they totally spent 2 of them on that one shift. But
icing.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Icing the puck icing the puck 3 times is not ideal. No. And that's one of the reasons why he was out there for so long. And I believe that Forbort going to the bench and sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting was just like basically posturing because he was tired.
Right.
And unfortunately, the league or the officiating doesn't like that. And they got a bench minor, which I thought was, I was a little dumbfounded about what was going on. More or less, it was the 3 icings and what happened with the bench minor that I was just like, what is going on with this team? You guys need to figure it out.
Right.
But yeah, just got to get better with, when you release the puck and throw it in the corner, you got to do it after the red line, not before.
And the linesmen and the referees are usually super lenient with that. Like as picky as they are about the offside and the blue line, when you're dumping it in from the red line, they usually give you, the benefit of the doubt. They'll give you a couple inches. They know you need a change, and they'll kind of let you flip it in and get off the ice and keep the flow of the game going, which makes it all that more, I guess, egregious that it was another half a stride. You got to get the puck over the red line. You got to before you send it down there. So definitely a weird scenario, and nice thing you're playing the Sharks is it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Can we look forward a little bit here to the All-Star game, Mark? Another good night for Linus Ullmark last night. He's been named to the All-Star game. Jim Montgomery will be the head coach, so tip of the hat to him. Well-deserved after the year that he's had. Anything stand out to you from the rosters? Quite frankly, do you even care? The All-Star game is not always the biggest thing, but do you care about the All-Star game? Where do you think they're at right now?
I don't care really about the All-Star game, and I used to really get up for the skills competition, but that's just kind of, in my opinion, went childish. More, silly. And exactly silly. Yeah, it's more for the kids. It's more for the next generation that want to see all these talented plays and tricks and so on. And I get it, but it's not like it was when I was younger or we were younger and so on. But it is good to have representation from the Boston Bruins, and obviously Linus Ullmark and all the accolades that he's accomplished this year in his second full season with the Boston Bruins has been nothing but tremendous. We talked about the stories about him and his struggles going through life with an alcoholic father and so on, and being Swedish and coming to a new team, especially from the Buffalo Sabres and that dumpster fire, which it was, and not so bad these days, but it was pretty bad when he was involved. But just coming to the team and working with a guy like Jeremy Swayman, those two were like blood brothers. And what he's doing here in the crease, I don't think I've ever seen this in my life. I can date myself back to like the early 80s when Pete Peters went on this like 30 game like tear and didn't lose a game. But that was an individual effort. And I know that Linus is doing individual efforts as well, but with the way Pete Peters did it back then and what Linus is doing today is apples and oranges, to be honest with you. It's just an amazing thing that we're seeing. And again, I cannot stress how criminally underrated the goaltending coaching is in this organization, because yes, the individual is doing all the work out there in the crease, but behind the scenes, it's a very, very stern thing when it comes to teaching how to position yourself and so on, and kudos to Bob Ascender and Mike Dunham for really, really taking this goaltending development per se just to a whole new level.
How much credit do you give to the defense? Because in front of them, because I feel like there have been breakdowns. There have been big breakdowns, and you need your goalie to bail out your two defensemen who changed too early or turned the puck over. It was been a lot of turnovers the last 3 or 4 days from guys like Clifton, and Lindholm had a couple of them last night that were bad. But you got the save. How much do you attribute to the defense that's in front of them?
A lot. I mean, this year, I thought that the defense could use some work. I was let's put it this way. In the offseason, I was like, the Bruins need to make a trade. Because we didn't know who the Connor Cliftons were going to show up, the Derek Floorboards and so on. Some of these people and players that we could have traded for somebody, got something or made a package to get another defenseman in here, but I think that we're really good on the defense. We could use an upgrade. I'm not going to say we don't. I'm not going to say we're not 100% great, but yeah. I mean, I think the defense has been really good because when it comes down to the goals against and so on, your defense plays a big part of that, and your goaltender is your last line of defense. So just to have Linus and the way he's been playing, just to really stand out like that. It's just it's paying dividends on. I mean, are we really talking about? Is anybody talking about $5 million for 4 years now?
No,
I don't think so.
No, and I shook my head at that in the beginning because I was of the you keep Dan Vladar and Swayman and you work the kids on short money while they have it. The deal didn't make sense to me at the time, and now it's obviously it was a good deal. It's paying off, big time.
Absolutely.
Real quick, back to I'm kind of like you with the All-Star game. I don't know if I'm just outgrowing it, but I mean the home run derbies, 1999 in Fenway was awesome. The slam dunk competitions, even going back to more recently when Blake Griffin was jumping over Kias. The NFL, they're going to try this new sort of quirky, skills competition thing. I just remember those things 10, 20, 30 years ago being like must-watch TV. And I haven't watched a home run derby in 10 years. I haven't watched, a slam dunk contest in years. I don't know if it's just because, Dominique Wilkins and Michael Jordan took it so seriously, or I don't know. Maybe it's because they all had a lot of money on the line back then on their side bets. But just everything seems to be a little more quirky now. Maybe it's like Disney movies. Maybe I'm just outgrowing them. You hit that point in your life where you're like, all right, I don't need this anymore. It's for the kids. I will say the only issue that I have, and it's a silly one, but I teach a lot of marketing, and the NHL, I've always said, doesn't really do the best job of marketing. And, again, as much as I don't care about this thing, they need to market their stars. And, we saw that at the Winter Classic. It was all about Pasternak. It was all about, Brad Marchand sitting at the desk with Paul Bissonnette after the game, having the fan votes to get Pasternak into the All-Star game to me is just silly. He's, who's more marketable to this league? Who's a better face for the league, David Pasternak or Dylan Larkin, right? With all due respect to Dylan Larkin. Even the Islanders, I see Islanders fans, well, it's okay that Matt Barzal didn't get in because Brock Nelson is really Matt Barzal is a star. He's a stud. He's a marketable guy. He's going to make you money, sell jerseys. Who sells more jerseys, Matt Barzal or Brock Nelson, right? With all due respect to Brock Nelson.
Right.
So I think it's important for them to realize what they are, realize who their stars are, and market them. And, I mean, you'll have your Trevor Zegrases, I'm sure. But even if a guy like Trevor Zegras has a bad season, you still got to find a way to get him there,
Yeah.
So for something that I don't care much about, that is my hot take on the All-Star game.
Mark,
go ahead.
I totally get it. I totally understand what you're saying. And yeah, the league does have to do a much better job marketing. Now, we still do have the fan vote. And David Pasternak could get in there as well. And who knows? I mean, even Hampus Lindholm could get in there too, because he's been playing well too. So there's that.
But it's the same fan vote that let John Scott into this thing. Like that's when I was like, all right, I'm out. I'm like, John Scott's an all-star. I'm out. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you people aren't taking this seriously, so I'm not going to take it seriously. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And each market is going to do that. They're going to try to get somebody that they think is their the best player to get on that roster. But yeah, I just think sometimes that the All-Star game is kind of a farce, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Mark, would you like to talk about our friends at Can I Wellness?
Absolutely. Can I Wellness offers 4 distinct experiences for the different challenges you may face throughout the day. Can I Sleep, Can I Mend, Can I Fresh, and Can I Boost. It's the trusted brand for sports, fitness, and wellness households. With over 50 vitamins, nutrients, and herbal extracts in 4 contact sprays, it's the most convenient way to get back on track with no pills, water, or messy powders. 90% of nutrients in these oral sprays are absorbed in less than 30 seconds. It's like an entire health food store in your pocket and is endorsed by Olympians, NHL players, and pro sports stars who rely on Can I Wellness Company to support high performance. Let's talk about each product. Can I Boost allows you to skip the coffee and sugary snacks and energize the healthy way. Use daily before you work out, when studying for an exam, and other times when you need increased clarity, stamina, and concentration. Can I Mend provides the after-party liver support and works fast to relieve hangovers in the morning after drinking. I know that quite well. The unique oral spray supplement is blended with 11 vegan vitamins and herbal extracts to replenish your body to combat headache, sickness, and lack of energy. Can I Fresh reduces stress and gives your body an immune system boost. Whether you're nervous before a presentation and need to calm down before a hectic day or after a hectic day, the 11 natural and vegan ingredients in Can I Fresh take the edge off without making you tired or unmotivated. Can I Sleep? I use this as well. This is an all-natural and vegan sleep aid. It's convenient and fast-absorbing. No mixing beverages, no waiting for gummies to kick in. Just spray, roll over, and snooze. Control your dosage on how much sleep you need. If you want to try these amazing Can I Wellness all-natural oral spray products, please go to caniwellness.com and use our promo code BNG25. That's BNG25 to get 25% off everything on the caniwellness.com website. We thank Can I Wellness for sponsoring this episode and our weekly Boston Bruins-related podcast.
Wonderful. I gotta get on that. I gotta get on the Can I Wellness train, I think.
Yeah, it's good products. I use them quite well in the morning and so on. I'm trying to get off the coffee kick, and that's been something that I've been using a lot lately. And like I said, when I'm out on a school night and happen to have a few cocktails, the Can I Mend is something that I really enjoy. It kind of doesn't take away everything from the hangover, but it really gets you to a place where you're able to work and function without, stepping sideways and having the boss come over and ask if you're okay or not.
Oh, that's great. Well, we appreciate their support, as always, of the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. One thing that you mentioned earlier, a guy who had a great game a couple nights ago, and a guy who I'm just so glad to see is playing well, is Trent Frederick. An absolute pleasure down at, my favorite of all the guys I've sat next to in the penalty box over the years. He's my absolute favorite. He spent a lot of time in the Springfield penalty box when he was in Providence. But he's an absolute pleasure. A guy who I thought was just didn't know what to do with himself last year. He was just picking fights, getting dumb penalties. He would make the refs the refs didn't want to deal with his nonsense, so he was always in the penalty box. He looks like a totally different player this year. And he's got a contract that's coming up too. So, what do you attribute most, do you think, to the turnaround of Trent Frederick so far this season?
I just think that I go back to the offseason when Jim Montgomery came to the Boston Bruins team, and one of the things that he mentioned that he was really, really wanted to work with and see grow into more of an adult and more of a professional in the NHL was players like Jake DeBrusk and Trent Frederick. And I think that both of those guys, particularly Trent Frederic, needed that change in the message. What Bruce Cassidy was saying last year might not have transcended to what is being relayed to this year. We all, the cliches are definitely out there when you say that Montgomery's a player's coach. He's just more relaxing. He gives you a little more freedom and so on. Those are all facts. We're seeing all the people that we thought had problems with Cassidy last year really turn around their careers this season. And Trent Frederic's one of them. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are not fans of him, but those people are really turning around and seeing the positive things that this player can do. Yes, he can take an occasional stupid penalty once in a while, but not as bad as last season. But what we're seeing also is his offensive capabilities, which I have said for years when he was playing with the national program and Wisconsin and blah, blah, blah. Even in Providence, he was really good offensively. He could be a pain in the ass, like kind of enforcer type of a player, but also he could put the puck in the net. We're seeing him this year. I think that's because he's just getting a little more a leash, allowing him to be a little more creative. The guy's got an NHL release. He's always had that. And I'm really happy for him. But the fact is that it is a contract year. And I want to see, and hopefully he can be consistent if the Boston Bruins do offer him a contract. He does have RFA rights, and I think it's arbitration too, by the way. So I think he could come back on a short-term deal and more of a prove-it kind of thing. But I would like to see him back personally, just from what I'm seeing now, because it just looks like Montgomery's going to be here for a little while. So why not keep him, a guy like Frederic, too? He's only making $1 million. I think that if he gets an increase, he'll probably get 2 to 2.5. I don't think it's going to be any higher than that because the Boston Bruins tend to not want to pay their bottom 12 players besides Charlie Coyle and, other players. Let me rephrase that. They don't want to play the fourth line players more than $1 million or $2 million. So I would like to see Trent come back, but I want him to be more consistent and just be that more all-around player if he does so.
Yeah, I think a part of it too is, we talked sort of understanding his role. I think when we talk about the fourth line has this stereotype, if you will, of you're out there to grind other people down, punch them in the mouth. It's got to be a Sean Thornton. It's got to be a Gregory Campbell. And like you said, I think he's more creative. I think he's more of a skilled hockey player than just that fourth line oaf playing 7 minutes. And of course, that's not in reference to a guy like Thornton. But I think having him on a third line and asking him to do more, right? If you just ask him to go on the fourth line and be a pest and punch people in the mouth, he'll do that. But asking him to go on that third line, play with Charlie Coyle, get creative, use a guy like Taylor Hall to your advantage, learn from him, find out what things he's doing to work on his own shot or his own speed or his this or that and the other. Surrounding him with guys like Coyle and Hall and asking more of him offensively, I think is a huge benefit to him. And I don't know if they asked for that out of him last year. I don't know if they were asking him, hey, we want you to go out and score some goals. Yeah, have a minute and a half on the power play. Like, I don't think they were asking that of him. And now that they are, I think it's really working out for him.
One of the best things, Steve, that I really like about this Trent Frederic this season is his versatility. We all knew that he was drafted as a center and then moved to the left wing. But what we're seeing in Jim Montgomery's system is it allows Trent Frederic to even go to the right side where he's not a right shooting winger and still be productive over there. I just think that, like what you're talking about just a minute ago, it's the pieces that are alongside Frederic that are making him better as well. That's just good growth for the individual and that line itself, because honestly, Could you honestly go out there and think of, and I know I'm putting you on the spot now, could you honestly go out and think in the NHL right now of a better third line when Taylor Hall, Charlie Coyle, and Trent Frederick on the right or the left, or if you flip Hall and Frederick, is there a third line out there?
I mean, none that I can think of. And, maybe part of that growth for Frederick is looking at a guy like Taylor Hall, and they're saying, Taylor Hall, we're going to put you on the third line. And Taylor Hall says, okay, sure, I'll do it. No problem. Whereas
but would he do that? Would he do that in New Jersey?
No.
Would he have done that in freaking Arizona?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
And that starts at the top. It starts with the Bergeron and Krejci and, and all that. But playing with Taylor Hall is great for Trent Frederick. Watching Taylor Hall find his own role, whether it's on the third line or whatever, is good for Trent Frederick. Watching how Charlie Coyle can have the puck and hold on to it and not only be creative, but also be able to muck it up in the corner, use his body. I mean, Trent Frederick's a big dude. People don't realize he's 6'2". Learning from those guys that are right alongside of him, I think is so huge. The only thing, and I'll bring him back up to it, the only thing I need from Trent Frederick is I need him to go with Sean Thornton and learn how to throw a punch, because he keeps throwing these wild over the top like he's on the schoolyard. And I've gotten punched in the face a lot, but I haven't done a lot of punching in my life. I look at his technique when he's fighting, and I'm like, he's just like Wild Bill out there. Like, he's got to get a little better form in his fights. But it was nice to watch him pummel Brendan Lemieux the other night. I loved watching that guy get hit. But I think he's got such a benefit of the guys in that room, the guys on his line, and now he's got the trust from his coach. I think he's in a good spot. I'm like you. I'd keep him around.
Yeah. I mean, it just speaks volumes of the culture. You know what I mean? Like you talked about Taylor Hall. We talked about Taylor Hall going down in his previous career to the third line, where a player like him and his, notoriety of, I'm a former first round player and I'm this and that.
Don't you know who I am?
Yeah. I don't do third and fourth lines. But in this culture, this is a winning culture. And, Taylor Hall is not on the, he's not young anymore, and he's not overly getting old, but he's just in that part of his career where I need to buy into whatever the message is sent to me and just do it, because this is what happens when winning happens, And I love the way his attitude is. And, so many people outside the league outside of Boston, when he came here, were just like, he's got an attitude. You're not going to like him. He's going to want to be traded if he's not happy. I'm just glad that whole narrative is now gone. And we have a Taylor Hall that is reliable no matter where you put him. First, second, or third line, you're going to get the best out of him. He might not look like the best and fastest skater out there, but boy, can he move. And I'll tell you one thing that I'm really impressed about Taylor Hall this season is his back check. His two-way game has really, really stuck out to me.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's he's at the age, like you said, where it's a little bit of self-reflection. I mean, if Taylor Hall retired today, I think that people would be more apt to say that he underachieved over the course of his career based on his hype and where he was drafted. And I was shocked to know that he has never scored 40 goals. I mean, that shocks me. I mean, he's never hit the 40 goal plateau. So
he was a league MVP too.
Right. But once, and he's never won a cup. So
I wonder if that was a shortened season.
I haven't pulled up here. He had 39 in 17-18 with New Jersey. He had 39 goals, 54 assists for 93 points. So, I mean, he was close to 100 points that year. That's probably the year he won it. But, to not, I always just thought that the guy, put the puck in the net like it was nothing. For him to not hit that mark yet, again, I'm not asking for him to score 40 goals, but isn't it about time that he became a critical piece on a Stanley Cup winning team, a Stanley Cup contending team? I think he has the opportunity here to really, and yeah, it was 27-18. He won the Hart. Was that the year I was talking about? So maybe that's a part of it too, is a little bit of self-reflection. Like I got a legacy that I got to build here. I got to, he made the All-Star game, and he won the Hart that year. He had 93 points for New Jersey. So in 76 games, which is pretty crazy. So I think I think this team's in a good spot. I think all these guys are in good spots. They're all buying in, and I think that's something even us just sitting on our couches are starting to notice. It's great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is a great time to be a Bruins fan.
It really is. It really is. Now I know this was I saw this on Twitter, and I know this was kind of, I don't know, people just losing their mind, but we move forward here and talk about Fabian Lysell playing in the World Juniors, and we talked on it a little bit. I expect a little more out of him playing with his peers. I like that he can go out and muck it up with guys a lot older than him. Playing against grown men in the AHL, he's done really well. I was expecting more from him against his peers. But some people are talking about trading him. Some people are talking about he's a bust, get rid of him. I just, no way. There's just too much talent there. There's too much going on. What do you think was sort of the reason for his underwhelming performance? Was it coaching? Was it teammates? What do you think? Any thoughts on the top about his performance at the WJC?
I mean, going pointless in 7 games on a Sweden team that did put the puck in often. It was a little disturbing to see, but I'm not gonna, bash the kid for not getting points in a tournament like that. They came in 4th. Sweden came in 4th, obviously, but it's just the narrative out there is just, when people watched him play, some folks said that he was making impacts even though he wasn't scoring points, and I agree with that. There was some times that you could see his offensive capabilities come through, a little snake bitten on a couple posts and so on. But I really think that Boston fans are just so, fire from the hip type of folks that, I mean, the Boston Bruins, they see that, the Boston Bruins fans see that, hey, we could make an improvement to go for the Stanley Cup. This would be a great piece to use. But they're also forgetting what the future would look like when the prospect pool, if that happens. You're taking steps back. Now, I'm not saying that Fabian Lysell is the next Wayne Gretzky and so on, but nobody knows that. We don't know what we have until he gets to the NHL. But the other thing is like Dom Tiano last week and it told us that it doesn't matter what he's doing in a tournament like this. What you should be focused on is how he's playing against men in the American Hockey League, and he's a point-per-game player. You don't give up on something like that. Legitimately, this is the right wing in our prospect pool is very weak, and it has been since David Pastrnak was drafted. So you just don't want to give away a player like this. I just think that we need just a little more patience. And also for the ones that are like, all right, so the World Junior Tournament is over. We need to get Lysell in the NHL as soon as possible. That's a no for me as well. I just think that he needs to spend the rest of the season in Providence, where he is right now. He did not play in last night's game. I'm not sure why, but he might be into today's lineup. I'm not totally sure. The Providence Bruins have a game at 3 p.m. today, which I'm going to be watching against the Utica Comets. But I'm not ready to throw in the towel on a prospect like this. I just think that a lot of fans, they don't invest the time enough to really seriously watch him in the American Hockey League or any of these tournaments that he's been in. But when they do see a tournament as illustrious like the World Juniors, which is an unbelievable worldwide coverage, and they see that, and it's a little disheartening for them. But just take a couple of breaths and step back and just let the guy develop. He's 19 years old. We haven't seen anything from him yet. We're going to see a lot more of him as he continues to develop.
Yeah, and maybe it's the recent draft history that makes Bruins fans lose their mind. And I mean, I can get that, but I think he's too young to already give him the cold shoulder. I mean, it's funny. I just pulled it up between Jacob Forsberg, Becca Carlson, Jeremy Lozon, Dan Vladar. The amount of guys that they've drafted that are still here and productive it's slim. But I think that's all the more reason to make sure that our prospect pool gets sort of refilled, right? I mean, we can't just be dumping prospects to bring in, 30-year-olds on expiring contracts to win a cup. And as much as I'd like to, and maybe we can do both, I'm not ready to take our top prospect and just say because he had a bad junior tournament, that's it. I mean, it's funny too. Somebody posted it, and I can't pull it up now, but the most points ever scored in a World Junior, and a lot of those guys didn't make it either. So,
yeah.
It's a good tournament to watch. It's a good tournament to get a feel for what the talent level is. It's like watching the NCAA March Madness. It's cool to see these young kids go out there and ball, but I don't think I don't think it's a barometer as to whether or not the third string point guard at Kentucky is an NBA player. You know what I mean? Like I can't use that as the bar for what a player is, regardless of the sport. So I do think it needs to be sort of honed in a little bit. And again, for those people on the fence about Fabian Lysell, go to a game, go watch him in Providence, come to Springfield, come watch him play, get in the building, get your binoculars, whatever you need to do, but watch this guy play. I want to hear that first before you start saying we got to trade the guy. Tell me you're in the building watching the games. You know what I mean? Before you say you're going to want to trade him. So,
yep. And the biggest thing for me too is when people have the ability to go to these American Hockey League arenas and sit and watch. What you do at home is you're seeing on TV and where the camera goes. Watch this player with the puck, away from the puck, on the bench, how he's taking advice from his attitude. You get character and so on. The biggest
how he interacts with his teammates, all that stuff.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. It's all a package that you really have to absorb into, and not just fire from the hip and go, oh, he got no points, he's done, he's a boss and this and that. I swear to God, coaches that I interview on the regular have always said to me, it's not about the points that you do on the score sheet. It's about the impacts that you make in the game. And I will forever believe that. If you're not making an impact to the game, you're not developing properly. But the coaches, when they say that he is making impacts, tells me that he's on his way. And it's just, you need to be patient on him. That's all.
I agree totally. So in a moment here, we're gonna hear from our friends at Bet Online. I do just wanted to bring up one other thing real quick, and I think I caught this on the NHL Network. They were talking about the kid from Canada, Shane Wright. Just got sent back down to the juniors, and
Frontenacs.
And they it seems like Seattle almost demanded that he get traded to a team that can contend. I sort of got that impression. Same thing happening here with Brett Harrison, who just got moved to the Windsor Spitfires. Of course, Mark Savard is the head coach there, which is awesome. Does the NHL teams really have that much pull in junior hockey to say, this guy's my prospect, you're a middling team, I want him on a contender? And are junior teams do they just front load teams like midway through the season to make like the playoff runs more interesting? Like I'm not up to speed on how all that works, but I found that interesting. I think it was Mike Rupp was talking about that.
I think there's dialogue. I don't think that the NHL teams set a precedent on where their prospects are to go and so on. I just think that there's dialogue. Like, hey, we're thinking about sending him back, but it would probably be good for his development and his character if he was traded to a team that's going to go, win an OHL championship, or even have a potential to go to the Memorial Cup, which is an absolutely huge tournament up in Canada as well. All three leagues participate in that. I mean, there's dialogue, but I don't think that there's if we send him here, you need to trade him immediately. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll have to look it up after we get done recording. But I think the timeline for the trades are done. So I believe he's staying in Kingston.
Okay, gotcha.
I think so. I could be wrong.
I wonder if that's why Harrison moved when he did. Do you think that's a good move for Brett Harrison, who, again, is another great prospect the Bruins have here in the system?
I do. I think that, and also it made an immediate impact in his first game, in his, I'm not going to say his first shift, but, his first little bit of time on ice under a Mark Savard Windsor Spitfires team, got a goal. I mean, Mark Savard, we talked to Dom Tiano last week, and I've been talking to Dom on the DMs and so on, and Mark Savard was really wants to load up this Windsor Spitfire team and make a run for it, and I'm hopefully not going to piss Dom off when I say this. I'm not sure if it was like news to be mentioned, but I think he said that Mark Savard was interested in trying to get Matthew Poitras out of the Guelph Storm to Windsor as well. And we had Matthew Poitras on this podcast over the off season and talked to him a bit. But man, I mean, that would be amazing just to have all those like kind of Bruins centric ties all into an amazing story like that. But no, I'm really happy about Brett Harrison and where he's at right now. His development is really good. Signed an entry-level contract not too long ago. It's going to be, I think, his final year in the OHL, and then probably go to Providence and start to increase that center depth that we need. I mean, the Boston Bruins need to replenish their prospect pool, but obviously, when you think about key players like David Krejci and Patrice Bergeron, you want and their potential retirement, you want to know that you have a comforting set of prospects that are coming up the middle as well.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing that with a lot of the guys they've drafted have been mostly center. I believe Johnny Beecher was a center too, mostly. So I know he played the wing last night, but yeah, I mean, it all starts down the middle. When you're talking forwards, your success, I think, starts from down the middle, and that's why they brought back a guy like Krejci.
Yep.
And real quick, wouldn't it just be great if you're a hockey player to play under Mark Savard? That guy just is so smart, and he seems, now that he's retired, he just seems to love life, love what he's doing. He's having a blast down there. Do you have any idea if he wants to take it up a notch, go coach in the NHL or the minors, or is he? I mean, maybe he's comfortable right where he is.
From my understanding, I think he did reach out. I'm probably gonna defer to Dom Tiano again during the offseason when the Boston Bruins were looking for a coach. I believe that Mark Savard actually put his name in the hat and reached out and said, I would like to be interviewed and so on.
Interesting.
Yeah, but I mean, Mark's just another player's coach, much like Jim Montgomery. You're going to get the best out of your players because you relate well to them. You're not just a stick up your ass kind of coach. You go out there, do this, do that. You sit down next to them. You find out what's going on. You ask about their families. There's a lot of good camaraderie that comes out of coaches like that. And when you do that, you get the best results out of these players.
That's great. Yeah, I'd love to play for a guy like that. For sure. So we do also have we have a couple of voicemails on the listener hotline, which we will get to shortly. We also want to mention our Patreon campaign as well. We'll have that coming up as well. But first, we'd like to hear from our friends at betonline.ag.
BetOnline.ag remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NHL, NFL, NBA, bowl season, esports, and World Cup. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchups info, player news, and game trends at betonline.ag. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sports or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head over to the betonline.ag website and join to receive a 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure you use our promo code CLNS50. That's CLNS50 to receive all these fantastic rewards after you make your first cash deposit. BetOnline.ag, it's where the game starts.
It starts where the game starts, Mark. Come on.
Yes. I gotta defer to my friends Connor Ryan and Evan Marinowski. When they do that ad read, they always do the Boston stats, that New England accent. I love it. Shout out to those guys.
Great guys too, by the way. Nice. Connor covered the Thunderbirds for Mass Live too, way back in the day.
Yep.
So Connor's a real good dude. I say we go a little rapid fire here. We have three interesting topics, and maybe we can go a little rapid fire on these. Deadline for the trade deadline, March 3rd. Mark, you think the Bruins need to make a move? You stand pat?
It's so hard because March is a little bit of a ways away, but it's really not that far when you think about trading. And me personally, if I was a general manager, I would want to make a move as soon as possible to get a player or an asset involved to create that chemistry. The longer you have time to create chemistry, the better. I think that if you go right up against the trade deadline and then right to the end of the season, there's a possibility of a chemistry builder and so on, and I believe that. But I just like that the extra camaraderie that these guys will get out of that particular player. But I'm not sure where they're going to go with this. I think they're still trying to move Craig Smith in his contract. I don't think that that's going to happen at all. I think that he's just probably going to end up walking to free agency during the offseason because, I mean, Craig could be of value to another team. It's his AAV that is not attractive at all to most teams, and that's a real bummer for a player like him that's on the latter part of his NHL career. Defense wise, I could see an upgrade, but I'm not sure where you fit players in. We talked about it last week with Dom Tiano. I don't know, the biggest focus right now would be Matt Grzelcyk. I mean, I would like to see an upgrade for Matt. I like Matt and so on, and I get all the underlying numbers or the analytic geeky stats and so on that say that him and Charlie McAvoy are a real good matchup, and their potential is really good and so on. But I'm not one for potential and what could happen. I want to see results now. And that might sound greedy as a Boston Bruins fan sitting here with 31 wins in 39 games, but I think there's still improvements that this Boston Bruins team could make. Whether it happens or not, it remains to be seen, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, my fear is that if they're going to bring in an impact player, the money is going to be tricky. And the only way you're going to be able to make it work is to, like you said, to have to give up a contract like a guy like Craig Smith. And if a team's willing to take that on, they're going to need something else too. So now we're talking about Craig Smith and a whole bunch of picks, or Craig Smith and a whole bunch of prospects, or Matt Grzelcyk and Craig Smith and a whole bunch of picks. So I don't really want to mess too much with that if we don't have to. I just think that their financial situation that they're in right now is going to make it super tricky to bring in a guy that's really impactful, that's cheap, right? I mean, most guys that are impactful and cheap, they're not going anywhere. So
right.
If you're going to make a move, you're going to have to, there's going to be a price tag on it, and you're going to have to give something, you're going to have to make them take money too, and now you're going to have to add more stuff to the deal. And I don't think it's very necessary at this point. Pasternak continues to score. Do we think he can hit 50? Can he hit 50 goals? Can he hit 100 points this year, Mark?
Oh, God, I'd love to see it, but man, every time he gets a goal, he just increases that value. It's one of those things that you get tired of seeing online, whether it be Facebook or Twitter. He scores a goal, and here you go, pay the man. I believe so. I think there's enough games for him to do so, especially if he keeps doing two goals each game, much like last night. I could see it happening. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're not even at the 40 game mark. He's already at 54 points. So I mean,
it's we're halfway through the season. I could definitely see that happen. 60 might be a stretch, but who knows? But still, it's just everything is just coming together for this player right now, and hopefully he's happy. Because I do want to see him back here. I think the biggest thing right now is everybody wants to just have that comforting level of him signing an 8-year deal worth $11 million. And that was reported by Rich Keefe, by the way, which was a little bit of a reach, in my opinion. A radio guy in Boston. I'm not sure what his angle was.
At a dying station that needs all the clicks they can get.
Right,
by the way.
Right. And I'm not going to say I didn't do it, but I kind of went on board with him and said, it kind of makes sense that they do this now, because there was reports that I've got over my desk here at the Black and Gold Productions studio that Pasternak himself kind of put in a December 31st kind of deadline, like, hey, I would like to have a deal done by now. And they continue to both sides. I'm not saying it's Don Sweeney and the organization dragging their feet. It's both sides. J.P. Barry, his agent, has been notorious for dragging his feet in contract negotiations. Several of his previous clients have even gone to June, the last day of June, before free agents started the next day to get a deal done. And I don't want to see it go that far, because if David Pasternak at that point tests free agency and another team comes in, we lose a player like that for absolutely nothing. Now, on to you. Let me ask you something, Steve. When it comes down to March 3rd and nothing is happening, what would you do at that point? Because now the player has pushed the organization into a corner where we're not sure if this player is going to be around if he tests the free agency. We need to get something for him. So where's your gauge level on this whole contract negotiation?
I mean, I don't want to sound ludicrous here, but if you're looking at a team that wants to make Pasternak the face of the franchise and they have a ridiculous contract offer on the table that that you're not going to match, and you're looking at the possibility of getting a top 5 pick, I wouldn't take it off the table. I mean, you can somehow get your hands on Connor Bedard, because, as long as it's not Montreal, don't put him in Montreal. That would just be a heartbreak. But, if they're, like you said, it annoys me that the agent likes to wait till the last minute. If there's no movement there, no discussions, if you're way off in your negotiation in terms of numbers, and Arizona or somebody like that, or San Jose wants to throw all their, because Arizona's got more picks they know what to do with. So they're going to throw you 2 or 3 first-round picks, and they're looking at a guy like Jacob Chychrun. I mean, would you go Pasternak for Chychrun in a couple firsts? I mean, you're swapping first-round picks. I don't know. I mean, but I wouldn't take anything off the table. I really wouldn't, because like you said, the worst-case scenario, we see this happen in Boston all the time, is you lose a guy for nothing. And by March 3rd, I'd like him either signed, or I want to be picking up. I don't want to pick up the phone, but I want to hear. I want to hear what you got. You want a new face of your franchise, Arizona. Like I said, put him out on the West Coast where we don't only have to see him twice a year. But I wouldn't take it off the table. No.
Yeah. I mean, if it comes down to that, and I think it's going to be more than just one pick for a player like David Pasternak.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you could probably get a 2023 and a 2024 and a really good prospect in another team's pool, and maybe even a roster player. Who knows? But it's just one of those situations that you don't want to think about, but you're coming down to the witching hour when you do have to start thinking about that. And this fan base is just so trigger happy and so on that they will absolutely torch the organization for not getting something done.
I mean, I don't see why you can't move him. Like you said, you get a couple picks, and you can get a guy. You said a young prospect. I mean, heck, I take a JT Miller or Patrick Laine. I mean, they're going to the playoffs anyway. So let's get somebody who. I mean, my gripe with Pasternak was always sort of on the defensive end, and the playoffs come and everybody seems to play more physical and they go harder and they go stronger, and that's not really his his area of expertise, right? He's more finesse, more, it seems like when he does try to play harder than himself, he ends up in the penalty box. So,
or turning the puck over.
So, I mean, if you can get yourself a guy who can hop on that second, third line, who's 6'3" and built like a fire hydrant, then I'm fine with that too. But that's not what I want. I said 11 years for 8 years for 11 million, 88 for 88. That's what I would do. We do have a couple of voice messages, and again, you can give us a call anytime. Our listener hotline number 978-504-2727. You got a hot take, you have a question for us, reach out anytime you want, and we will answer that right here on the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Let's fire those off, though, if you got them, Mark.
I do. So this is Ben, and he works with us at Black and Gold Productions. Thank you very much, Ben, for the phone call, and here he is.
Hi, this is Ben. I am just wondering if Chris Wagner, since he's called back up to the Bruins, if he does really well, do we think he's going to be staying in Boston for the long term?
Unfortunately, I don't believe so. I think that his recall was just for the pure fact of having a body with Boston when they go out to the West Coast. Wagner already cleared waivers earlier this season, so to go down, he wouldn't have to go through the process again. This is very common for teams to do this when they're away from their minor pro affiliate to kind of load up a little bit for that break glass in case of emergency. I know we talked about it earlier in the program. But there's always that wow factor too. I mean, Jim Montgomery seems to be a very impersonable head coach. But if you lay it out on the ice, it's hard for a coaching staff with him involved to not notice good things happen. And so I'm going on the higher end of it not happening, but I'm not saying it can't.
Yeah, if you put the money all aside and all things like that, I would take Wagner over AJ Greer. I just think he has more to offer, and I think Wagner's been a really good soldier. He's been a real good soldier over the last year and a half, going up, going down. I think he's an NHL player in the AHL, and I think that's mostly strictly due to there's no room and the money. So I think he's been a good soldier. Put all that stuff aside, I would rather him over AJ Greer. But like you said, with all the other things that I want to take out of the decision that are actually real, I don't think he'll stick around.
All right, so the second one is Gail, and Gail works with us as well at the Black and Gold Productions. She's a Bruins writer and also does a lot of Bruins alumni as a media member as well. So here's Gail.
Hey guys, it's Gail from Black and Gold Productions. The question I have for you guys today is, how do you feel about teams that are quote-unquote tanking for Connor Bedard? Do you feel that that is something that you would want to see as a Bruins fan if the team was, say, as bad as Montreal or Chicago, all the teams that are going to be in the lottery? Would you want to see them tank games to increase their chances of getting the number one pick? Look forward to your answer. Have a great show, guys.
Thank you very much, Gail.
I would, if I was in that situation, yes. And I don't, is it the best thing for the sport to necessarily do? No, but and the other thing is I want to make sure that I really trust my GM, and I'm still not really sure what I'm getting with Don Sweeney. But I mean, I grew up a massive Steve Yzerman fan, so maybe I have this ingrained in my head. But what he's done in Detroit, that team is going to be an absolute wagon in a couple of years. I think we talked about Ottawa, who really, and again, you don't even have to tank just for Connor Bedard, but if you're trading off your assets like Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, you're loading up on draft picks, you can hit on some of those draft picks, and you can get your Tkachuks and your Drake Bathersons and your Tim Stutzlas, and you can build it that way. For me, it would have to be more than just sucking to get one player like Connor Bedard. You're going to need more than that. Ask Arizona, who's been trying to do that for my entire lifetime since I came into the league. So I think having the one guy is not enough. But if I'm Chicago, I'm loading up on first round picks for the next 2 years, doing the best I can, and then hoping that you end up like Detroit is now, which I think right now they're in the playoffs. And I think that they're cooking. I think they're going to be, like I said, a real problem coming up. And I mean, I look at a team like Florida, who I knew really well because they were the Springfield affiliate for a long time. They're on the other end of it. They've had all these high draft picks, and, you know, Grigory Denisenko and Alexei Heponiemi and all these other guys that just aren't producing, right? They're just not. They're going to be a middling team. I was shocked they were as good as they were last year. I think that they'll be middling for the next 5 years, because I don't think they've drafted well. They've had the assets, but they haven't drafted well. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but I'm glad I'm not in those situations. I'm glad I'm not in Vancouver, Chicago. I'm glad we don't have that problem here.
I am not a fan of tanking, to be honest with you. And I'm actually really glad that the league has stepped in to kind of mediate the factor of it happening. They do have the balls in the lottery thing and so on, and that really decreases the fact is for teams to like really go out and actually tank, because even teams know that there's no 90, 95, 100% chance that they're going to get a player like Connor Bedard. You're going to have to go through that process of, you know, that certain percentage of how many balls are in the lottery. So I'm kind of happy that the league stepped in and did that. But I'll tell you something right now. After watching the World Juniors this year, whoever gets Connor Bedard is a very lucky franchise, you know, and honestly hope a player like that goes to a team that can nurture him and his talents and just make him happy and so on. Because he is a very, very, already, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he's 17 years old, because he was wearing a bubble shield. So in junior tournaments like that, if you wear that bubble shield, you're under 18. So this is just something that he's a generational talent right now. And he absolutely blew away the scoring record that Jordan Eberle, sorry. Had many years ago. So, I'm not a fan of tanking. I hate that word, actually. But, it is what it is. You got to, rules are meant to be broken. And teams in the past have done that several times and so on. But like I said, it's good that the league has come in and done something about it. I do want to just say thank you very much to Ben and Gail for these voicemails, and also to our awesome listeners out there. Please take advantage of this. The more the merrier. Steve and I work really hard during the week to get topics together and so on. But having your voices and your questions and this added audio is just really good for us, because we can sit back and kind of, get a feel of what the fan base in Boston is feeling. So we appreciate the calls, and please keep them coming.
And just one other quick thing on that, and I'm pulling it up really quick, but I mean, you look at a team like Edmonton, right? And Edmonton, they obviously had to hit the jackpot with McDavid, but it's more than that. Like they've the Draisaitl went number 3, McDavid went number 1. Outside of that, they took Jesse Puljujarvi with the number 4 overall. He's adequate at best. Kailer Yamamoto, who is a decent player, but I mean, even look at Taylor Hall and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and they're not exactly. They should be better than they are, based on where they've selected over the last however many years. Having all these high draft picks, they should be better than where they are. And without McDavid or Draisaitl, I don't think they'd be very good. So you can get Connor Bedard all you want, but if the rest of your team is mismanaged and the rest of your assets are mismanaged, it's only one guy. It's only one guy playing. This isn't football where you just get the best quarterback and you have a chance. Like you need more than just McDavid or Bedard or whoever it is. So just something to keep in mind, that tanking for one guy is not exactly not exactly enough to get it done, at least for the long term. We do want to mention our Patreon campaign and other things that we have going on as well. Mark, do you want to touch on that for us?
Yeah, we do have a Patreon campaign, and this is where our listeners or anybody, even if you don't listen, and our YouTube viewers, obviously, can get involved in. And it's $1 per episode. And what we do is we take half of that and we pay the bills here at the Black and Gold Production Sports Media Company. And the other half we go into buying hand-signed jerseys to give away every month. And this month we are giving away this hand-signed Jerry Cheevers jersey, fully authenticated. This is from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. Bruce Sullivan, I work very closely with. We'll hear from Bruce Sullivan in a moment as he is back with a little bit of a commercial for his company. But, yeah, fully hand-signed. Everything's legit. He's got pictures. He's got videos. These players come to Bruce's house at his kitchen table and sit there and shoot the shit, have a couple beers, and they sign stuff. So get involved. It's just $1. We've given away a Ray Bork prize pack in October. We gave away an Andy Moog hand-signed jersey in November. We gave away a Derek Sanderson hand-signed jersey in December, and this month is Jerry Cheevers. So if you want to get involved, please go to patreon.com/Black and Gold Hockey Podcast, and it's just $1, folks. That's it.
That's awesome. And I mean, again, really, if you like the content, I mean, I hate to put it this way, we live in the world of Spotify where we get all your songs for free, and what does the artist get out of it? I don't know about you. I'm old enough to have to buy CDs and have to buy things. I got 39 days worth of music on a hard drive that I paid for. So, it's nice to get stuff for free, and we're glad we can provide it for you. But kicking it back to us, and oh, by the way, getting yourself involved in the raffle is pretty awesome too. So we appreciate everyone that's done that for us. And did you say you have something from Bruce that you wanted to run?
Yeah, I do. Actually, why don't we hear from Bruce Sullivan right now, because he has a homemade commercial that he does once in a while. I think he's going to get more involved, but let's hear from Bruce, and we'll hear on the other side.
Hey, this is Bruce from Boston Sports and Music with our Black and Gold Memorabilia Moment of the Week. On December 30th, we hosted 1980 Olympic hockey gold medalist and MVP Mark Johnson. Take home a Johnson autographed and inscribed jersey for just $149. Grab a puck for just $65 or a photo for just $59. On January 23rd, we are proud to host two Big Bad Bruins. Number 24, Terry O'Reilly. Grab an O'Reilly jersey with inscription for just $79. Grab a puck for $34 or a photo for just $29. And we also host 2011 Stanley Cup champ, the Enforcer, Sean Thornton. Grab a Thornton jersey with inscription for just $89. Grab a puck for just $34 or a photo for just $29. For more information on our dozens of hand-signed Bruins collectibles, visit us at our Facebook page, Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia, or email me directly at bostonsportsandmusic@gmail.com. And be sure to tune in each week, right here, to the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Let's go!
All right, and we're back. We just heard from Bruce Sullivan from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. Those fantastic items. Sean Thornton and is another one that I'm excited about getting a jersey for folks to win here. So that is in the making. I'm going to buy a Sean Thornton jersey. I think that's going to be really popular, and hopefully we can get some money out of that to obviously help us here at the Black and Gold Production Sports Media Company. Spice up the fan cave, people. You need it. You need it. Get rid of your Celtics. Get rid of your Red Sox. Get rid of your Patriots. Black and gold, baby.
That's right. That's right. Well, Mark, this has been a blast. This has been a great episode. I can't tell you. I know this is whatever now 4 for me, but this is a nice part of my weekend. I love sitting down and talking some Bruins, getting together. And I look forward to next week too. You have any parting words, any parting hot takes? Anything you want to leave us with today?
No hot takes or anything like that, but I do want to mention that we're looking for more content creators here at the Black and Gold Production Sports Media Company. If you would like to start writing about the Boston Bruins or any level of the organization from the NHL down to the prospects worldwide, we welcome you. Please, we'd love to have more writers. We love creating content here. We have a very good group. We have 30 writers. We have a podcast network. And we have just a real good team that we want to keep growing. So if you want to start a Boston Bruins related podcast or an NHL news related podcast, please reach out, either individual with a family member or a group of friends. Get together once a week. If you have the time to produce content once a week, please get in touch with me and send me an email with a cover letter and an idea about what you would like to do for Bruins content. We're also looking for YouTube creators as well. So the email is blackandgoldproductionsllc@gmail.com. Talk to me. I mean, I'm always open to bring on some more people and keep this Boston Bruins content train going.
And I kind of teach journalism too, and I know it seems a lot of overwhelming, especially for young people, but like, it's so simple to start. You're watching the Bruins game. You've opened up the notes on your phone, and you just start typing about random things that are going on in the game. And then after the game, you can take those thoughts, those ideas, and you can put them into complete sentences, and you have written an article, right? You can take those points that you noticed in the game, and you put them in sort of an outline, and that's how you do your podcast, right? So that's what we do, right? So it might seem overwhelming to, well, I'm not a journalist. I didn't go to the Newhouse School in Syracuse. Well, you don't have to. I mean, you really don't. If you were sitting at home watching these games, that's all you got to do, really, is just take out your phone, take a couple notes, write down what you're seeing throughout the game, and it's a great place to start. So if it's something you always wanted to do, but you don't know how to get started, and by the way, feel free to reach out to me about that too, because I kind of teach that stuff. So you can reach out to me on Twitter anytime if you're looking for some helpful tips as to how to get started. Sometimes with anything in life, getting started is the hardest point. The hardest part is to open that door. Hit me up. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, and the best thing about this whole thing is we don't force topics onto our writers or content creators. We allow them to be creative. If you have something that's Boston Bruins related, whether it be analytics, history, a pregame, postgame, or anything that's just related, it's all welcome here, And that's one of the biggest things that I really wanted to do was by starting this company was to give that creative option to these people out there that want to learn more about writing and so on. And if you're not a very good writer and punctuation and spelling might be a little bit of an issue, Grammarly.com, a paid version of Grammarly, is huge. It really helps editors out and so on, but it also allows quality content to go out as well and not get hammered by the grammar cops out there and the internet. Because those people are such a pain in the ass.
I'm such a word nerd. I can't even tell you. It drives me nuts. Twitter drives me bananas. Nobody can spell anymore. My students don't know how to spell. I'm like, guys, come on.
Oh my God. I think Steve, my pet peeve is when people spell Frederick. Oh my God, it's like there's no K.
Mine is when the people say they're a loser. There's only one L. There's only one O in loser. Come on. Drives me nuts.
Oh God, that's too funny.
Well, Mark, it's been a blast as always.
Unbelievable show.
Enjoy the rest of the day, the week. We'll glad you guys are feeling better after getting the Rona. That's just the worst. But certainly take care of yourself over the next week, and be back doing it again.
Absolutely. And before we go, I just want to give a shout out to our sponsors, betonline.ag. Please use the promo code CLNS50. Can I Wellness? Please use the promo code BNG25 to save yourself 25% site-wide. And obviously, we just heard from Bruce Sullivan from Boston Sports and Music Memorabilia. Hit him up because send him an email, ask him what he has in his inventory, and I'm sure he'll help you get something for that fan cave because, like I said, you absolutely need it.
That's great. Well, thanks, everybody, for tuning in. As always, we appreciate every listener, every click, every every time that you're interested in us, it warms our cold, dark hearts. So we appreciate it. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks again for tuning in and supporting this week's episode of the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. Please give the show a 5-star rating and write a review on listening platforms such as Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts. If you'd like to contact the show for advertising opportunities or to send us a question or topic idea we should be discussing, please send us an email to blackandgoldproductionsllc@gmail.com. Don't forget to share our program on your social media platforms with other hockey fans and follow our Twitter accounts at Black and Gold Pod, at BNG Productions, at Black and Gold 277, and at Kevin_O'Keefe89. Also, please don't forget to check out our official blackandgoldhockey.com website where we cover the Bruins organization from the NHL level down to the prospects worldwide. Peace out.